And the news begin in Abuja, where Vice President Kashim Shettima has led the federal government's delegation to the 31st Nigerian Economic Summit. The summit is holding in the nation's capital and has drawn top government officials, including the Ministers of Finance Wale Edun and Budget and Economic Planning Atiku Bagudu. Also present are industry leaders, members of the National Assembly, and the Emir of Kano, Sanusi Lamido Sanusi. This year's edition themed the reform imperative, building a prosperous and inclusive Nigeria by 2030, is seen as a pivotal, especially amid ongoing economic reforms by the federal government. Deliberations are expected to focus on strategies to balance stability with inclusive growth.
Government, our priority remains restoring hope to the unemployed, the poor, the excluded, and the vulnerable. We have created pathways for young Nigerians to access grants and loans and equity investments of up to $100,000 to scale their enterprises, innovate, and build sustainable livelihoods. We established a 200 billion naira intervention fund to support micro, small, and medium enterprises and manufacturers, helping them overcome structural challenges and enhance competitiveness. Our expansion of digital microloan access has improved financial inclusion, empowering small businesses and stimulating community-level productivity. These efforts underline our commitment to an economy that works for all Nigerians. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Poor Tax Reform Acts recently signed into law, the Nigeria Tax Act, the Nigeria Tax Administration Act, the Nigeria Revenue Service Establishment Act, and the Joint Revenue Board Establishment Act represents a bold recalibration of our fiscal architecture. They will boost domestic revenue mobilization, reduce dependence on oil, and simplify compliance. These reforms protect low-income earners, ensure fairness in corporate taxation, and strengthen digital innovation in tax administration. By promoting transparency and coordination among all tiers of government, we are laying the foundation for a fairer and more prosperous Nigeria.
Joining us now is News Central's correspondent Sumayya Abubakar, who's reporting live from the summit in Abuja. Sumayya, many thanks for joining us. What's the update from today's opening?
Good afternoon, Judith. Indeed, there's been a lot of activities happening here. First, after that speech by the Vice President of Nigeria, Kashim Shettima, there was a first plenary which was talking about how Nigeria would get there in 2030. You're talking about, of course, the agenda of earning the $1,000 or $1 trillion rather $1,000 economy. Now that is one of the things that is being pushed. But then, according to the panelists that had this discussion, they said that strategic and multi to even bilateral relationship has to be pushed, and it should be geared towards the interests of the nation, which would be what would guide the nation into achieving that particular plan. Also, they said that so far we have about 3.7 million jobs that needs to be created in Nigeria, but then the major sectors that are supposed to bring these jobs are not fully funded, talking about manufacturing and construction, but then the other ones that are quite huge don't get to employ people much. That would be finance, telecom, and even the ICT. So there was major conversation on that one, saying that any nation that has so far progressed and built economically has to produce more, produce better, and then produce smarter. Now, there was also another second panel that was held, said it was named One Nigeria, Many Markets, Driving Subnational Competitiveness. It says that, conversations always stems around Abuja and Lagos, which are the major commercial cities, and sometimes maybe Kano. But then we have states that are still majorly underdeveloped that needs to be paid, there needs to be much focus on this particular state. So on this panel, of course, we have the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Atiku Bagudu, who made mention that the federal government is now paying attention and keen its interest on this state. The governor of Nasarawa State, Abdullahi Sule, talked about the potential that his own state has, agriculture, and then now the mining. And he pointed out that they have decided whatever is harnessed, whatever is discovered in his state has to be harnessed in the state and processed. So it's not only bringing money for the state and then the federation in general, but also creating job opportunities for the people. And according to him, he said that every state should pay attention and take advantage of what they already have. That would, boost the competitiveness in sub-national level. So far, these are the two panels that has happened. We're having a lunch panel discussions about 4 different rooms with different major conversations. But then here it's all about health. There's so much discussion about the health sector, saying that there needs to be a major push, about investment on the public health, because the private sector have been going really good. Seeing private hospitals, excel, but then the government hospitals are still left behind. So that is the major, discussion here.
And very, very important as well, very pertinent and poignant when you think about it, all of the sectors, but most importantly, ease of doing business and the role that state governments play when it comes to driving investment, as well as, as well as reducing the numbers of unemployment when we look at those states. And so as we're talking about the importance, let's also talk about solutions as well, and also investors that are in the room. Were you able to talk to any of the attendants that were there? What did your respondents say? And what was the body language you got from, from investors and important dignitaries alike?
I would start by making reference to what the Vice President said, clearing the air about the Pengasan, Nupeng, and Dangote's, beef or the underlying issues around there. When he said, I would tell you that a lot of investors in that place gave a sounding round of applause. It is really showing that there's a lot of investors that are willing to invest in Nigeria, of course, taking the cue of the Dangote. But the fear is how, according to 1 or 2 people that were able to talk to here, the fear is always around how people are scared. Because there's been a certain pattern that when a Nigerian come, or even when a major company faces a bit of hurdle, then that person tends to lose his business and his in his money when investing. So yes, there is so much will and zeal, because Nigeria, of course, is one nation that people have seen the potential. But then the fear always lies on, will I be swallowed up? So the conversation here is really exciting. The Vice President's speech gave a lot of, boost and hope for people here, saying that they are hopeful that whenever they bring their money, then of course it would be, taken care of. And hopefully we take care of our own investors, that's the local investors first, in order to, attract the foreign direct investors. And hopefully, because right now there's a major concern that Nigeria so far have not gotten enough foreign direct investment, and that fear is saying I think the Minister of Budget pointed out that there's a bit of slow, and so far there seem to be no much investors coming to Nigeria. So if at all the world is watching us on how we treat our own local investors, then it will not encourage them to come. But then that speech, like I said, was massive, and everyone seems hopeful that the investment or their investment would be safe and would grow. So we're hoping to see more outcome, in terms of that, and more conversations that will lead to better understanding and having Nigerians to put in all they can, right, in order to bring investors both locally and internationally.
Right. Before I let you go, there's one thing that still plagues investors' confidence, and I do hope that was. I want to ask if that was also addressed in the Vice President's speech as he opened the summit today, and that's insecurity. It's now at the forefront, is being discussed. We're seeing all kinds of rhetoric being pushed on X and social media. Whether or not it's propaganda, only time will tell. But one thing is for certain: insecurity has affected our food production, and at every sphere is affecting lives as well. Was it addressed during the President's speech or the Vice President's speech?
Yes, absolutely. There was a major conversation about insecurity, and not just insecurity. There was major conversation about bad roads, infrastructure, which is one of the major conversation here. According to majority of people, I think address that. There's always talk about insecurity being put in every speech, from the panelists to the major speakers. And one of their concern that they pointed out is no matter how much the nation is investing and putting into sectors that need reforms in order to boost the economy, if at all these major issues are not addressed, then it's a case of we're just pouring water in a basket. So definitely they said while we are pushing for investment and reforms in all of this, we have to work on our major roads, make sure the roads are done well. We have to work on power as well, which is something that is affecting businesses majorly, and of course the major one, which is the insecurity. So yes, there was a consensus agreement about this, and hopefully it would be addressed. Now I want to say that we have major stakeholders from this parts of these different sectors that are here to gauge in the problems and find possible solutions for that.
And we wait to hear what the solutions will be, and most importantly, the implementation ahead for the next fiscal year. I must say thank you, Sumayya, for taking out time to join us and give us all the insights from today's agenda during the Nigerian Economic Summit there happening live in Abuja. Sumayya Abubakar, correspondent live from the capital.